My bad.
That's okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and
Sorry.
start the webinar, and I'm going to introduce Devin, do a little introduction. My name's Brad Mayfield. I'm the Director of Business Development for Greater Therapy Centers. Thanks a lot for joining us on this webinar. We appreciate you taking your time to listen to our presentation. We're doing these every day, every weekday through the 1st of May. 10 a.m. every day. You can go to our Facebook page, Greater Therapy Center's Facebook page, and find the registration information for all of the webinars. So let me give you a little bit of introduction for Devin, and then I'll turn it over to him. Devin started working with Greater Therapy Centers in February 2019. He attended the University of Texas, San Antonio, where he received his bachelor in kinesiology with an emphasis on exercise science. He then attended UT Southwestern Medical Center, where he graduated with a doctorate of physical therapy. In his free time, Devin enjoys the outdoors, watching soccer, and spending time with friends and rock climbing. And I also can throw in a little ad lib. He must enjoy time with his puppy because I've heard the puppy barking in the background. So I'm going to turn this over to Devin, and you can get started. Please enjoy.
All righty. Thanks, Brad. So yeah, like you said, if I hear some dogs in the background, I do apologize, but I'll try to keep them as quiet as I can. And so thanks for tuning in today and giving me some time to talk to y'all about ergonomics for home desk setups, going a little bit into neck pain and posture education. So the objectives of this webinar, I just want y'all to be able to recognize poor posture, being able to understand when you're sitting improperly in a chair like I just was, being able to know, this I'm doing wrong, how can I correct it? And that's for understanding how proper ergonomics reduces the risk of injury when working from home. So I will talk a little bit more into detail about neck pain, but there's also different issues that can come along with sitting improperly in a chair, which accumulate over time can cause some injuries. I want you to be able to list some key areas that could be affected by poor ergonomics. Again, not just neck pain, but potentially some back pain, some wrist issues that could also come along. Then know ways to reduce the neck pain, improve your posture, and decrease the risk of injury while working from home. So I will go over some tips and tricks and give y'all some ergonomic friendly devices that y'all are able to use, something relatively inexpensive that you can maybe use while at home during this crisis while you're working from a laptop over your kind of traditional desktop. So with that being said, and without going into crazy amount of detail here about the surface anatomy of the spine, I just really wanted y'all to see the intricate layer of muscles that really make up your spine. And the reason being is when you look at the head itself, the head weighs anywhere between 10 to 12 pounds for the average person. And so while yes, this is not a lot of weight, it does become a significant amount of weight as we get the text neck or as people are spending more time staring down at a screen versus staring straight ahead. So as you can see, as you change the amount of degrees you start bending forwards, you drastically increase the amount of weight that you actually start putting on your spine. And so, yes, those muscles are designed to hold you and they're not going to give out, but the constant, staring down at your screen or staring down at your phone over long periods of time are going to cause some issues in your neck, and which can potentially lead to some neck pain. And so, why address the issue when it's a problem versus looking at it now, looking what you can address before it becomes an actual problem for you. And so, as I mentioned in my teaser video, most of us are working in, different positions than what we're used to. So we've been used to working at our desk at work, which is usually set up relatively well. But now we're switching from, working in the kitchen to working on the couch to working in the bedroom and just laying in these different positions because you keep having to move because you can't find a comfortable spot, or, kids are in this area or kids are in that area, dogs are barking everywhere. So you're just trying to find somewhere peaceful to work as well as somewhat comfortable. But what I would try to do if I were you after listening to this is try to find a place where you can set yourself up a nice workstation where instead of, laying on the couch or laying in bed to work, you're really just picking one station and taking rest breaks as you need. So as I mentioned to y'all, I'm going to spend time talking about neck pain, but there's also a wide variety of problems that can really come along with improper sitting at work. So things can go from simple shoulder problems from leaning really far forwards when you sit down to low back pain from not having the supportive chair that you need, to, you can have hip dysfunctions. General lower extremity problems can also come along. Carpal tunnel is another really big one, especially with laptop use, because your wrists tend to be coming more upwards instead of being flat. And so, as I said, we're going to spend time here talking about how to avoid neck pain. And so why would you care? The four most common types of pain include low back, knee, headache, and neck pain. And so all four of those can be addressed with looking at simple ergonomics. Excuse me. Headache and neck pain is where we're focusing today, and back pain is the leading cause of disability worldwide. It is also the most common reason for missed work. And yes, the back pain does branch in low back pain, but it's also important to consider the neck pain with that as well. And so what does an ideal workstation look like? Well, for a lot of people, it tends to be somewhere where you sit for 5 minutes and then all of a sudden you're trying to find something else. So the middle picture is a great example of something that we can do right now, and that is simply setting up a laptop at a higher place, or if you have an option for a desktop, it's even better. It's even going to be better for you. So how do you achieve this workstation? How do you make something like this happen? So what you're going to look for is looking at sitting posture. You want your head to be level and facing forward. So a lot of times what people will do is, they'll start looking down, like I said before, or they'll angle themselves a little bit and maybe have a screen here and a screen to the side. So what do you want to make sure that everything is straight in front of you versus things at the side. Making sure your shoulders are nice and relaxed at your side, making sure you're not tensing up, making sure you have a chair with the right height. So your arms are nice and bent at 90 degrees and your elbows are, your forearms are parallel to the floor. And that is just to keep everything nice and relaxed at your side, and basically just make sure you keep your shoulders nice and relaxed. And as I mentioned, back pain includes spine as well. So you want to make sure you acknowledge the normal curvature of your lumbar spine and use chairs with support if you have them. And if not, you can always roll up a nice little paper towel and put it in between your back. Hips and thighs parallel to the floor is actually very important. It prevents excessive stress onto the joints of the hip, the knee, as well as the back. And so a lot of people may struggle here because they're like, oh, this desk is too high, so I have to raise the chair up. Now my feet can't touch the ground. Well, there's the little tips and tricks that you can use to help get yourself to a nice little flat parallel to the ground. Okay, so choosing the right chair. So the chair for me, I always find to be the most important to get set up properly. You want to make sure that the chair you have has a proper armrest. So armrests are key. They help keep your shoulders nice and relaxed and prevent you from really tensing up. Neck support can be a little bit more difficult to find on chairs. Those chairs tend to be a little bit pricier sometimes as well. So what you're going to want to look for those are just something with a little bit of support for your head, where you can rest your head back onto the back of it for a little rest for your neck. Key one is lumbar support. So as you can see on the picture here with the lady, she's got that little natural curvature of the spine. So just making sure that when you buy a chair, it is able to have that little curvature, has armrest, and has the head support. And there is a link I will show y'all later, and I'm more than happy to send to anybody who's got questions that can actually go over proper heights. And so footrests become really important here. So yes, you can invest into a nice footrest as shown in these pictures here, but honestly, a simple, stacking up a couple of books, some old books that you have, you can put them nicely on top of each other and give yourself an easy at-home footrest without going out and spending money. And again, the reason that's important is to keep everything nice and parallel and everything nice and comfortable for you. Some key accessories, things you're definitely going to want to look at getting are going to be either wire or wireless keyboard and mouse. So the keyboard on the laptop and the trackpad are great for short periods of uses. But a lot of us are now working from home for longer periods of time. We're on a laptop maybe for 5 to 8 hours, depending on how long you're working from home. And so the laptop isn't designed for long periods of uses. So really investing into a keyboard and mouse where you can then put the laptop further away from you, have the keyboard and mouse really close to you, is going to make a big difference. And gel pads, and all I mean by that are just simple supportive things for your wrist. And these, again, not going to help with your cervical spine, but they're going to prevent you from having any wrist problems as well. You want to pay attention to the spacing. So it's really important to keep things, keep the keyboard and mouse right in front of the monitor. Again, you don't want to have things to the side, so you're, halfway positioned over here and looking over to the left. So keeping the keyboard and mouse right in front of the screen and keeping it very close to the edge of the table can make a big difference. And then a big tip is, honestly, if you're not typing, just to rest your hands. It goes a long way. Constant typing is going to cause some irritation. And so if you can just take 2 or 3 minutes to, lay your hands off the keyboard and give your fingers just a little bit of rest, it can also go a long way. So proper phone use. So I don't know if people are using cell phones currently to have communication as well. This can also just be a great tip that you can take to the office. But you basically want to use a wireless headphone headset at all times if you can. As you can see the picture and the lady there, she's cricking her neck over like that. Definitely something that you're going to want to avoid. The constant cricking your neck over is just going to cause irritation on either one side or the other, depending on where issues may arise. So simple tricks is simply use speakerphone. So right now you can, put yourself on speakerphone, lock yourself in in your bedroom, close the door, write a couple notes down if you need to. If you need to step, that means you have to step away from your workstation. That's a totally feasible thing. If of course you can't, use your speakerphone because you're in a public area. If you have to put the phone to your head to make the conversation, just make sure to actually pick the phone up, hold it to your head, and then write some handwritten notes. Versus again cringing your neck over like that, it's just going to cause issues over long periods of time. And that brings me to another point. You want to make sure that your workstation is set up properly so that the the pad you write your notes on is not too far away, so you're not reaching way out there to grab it. And this is just a simple picture of a headset that you can purchase if you wanted to, something that you can look into if you're having to use the phone a lot and noticing yourself cringing over like that. So ergonomic work zone. So kind of a simple way to think about it is you have your primary work zone, a secondary work zone, and then the non-working zone. So I'm just going to work backwards. So non-working zone could be anything from personal pictures, plans, these things you don't use a lot. Your secondary work zone is going to be anything pretty much other than your keyboard, mouse, and a notepad. So again, for me, coffee, I may actually go to the primary work zone, but something that you can have a little bit further away. Your phone, nice and easy to reach, where you maybe have to stretch out your arms, versus that primary work zone is where your keyboard and mouse really belongs, where you can stay nice and close and really just having to move your elbow versus having to straighten it out. And that'll just make a difference in overall proper posture when sitting and preventing you from having to reach and cause some issues in shoulders as well. Desk and monitor. So you want to ensure proper desk height. This is a great link. Unfortunately, I can't get it to work on here, but if you want the link yourself, go ahead and send me an email. I'll be more than happy to send that to you. You can also just go ahead and Google Ergotron home desk height. And basically what it does, you put in how tall you are, and it actually breaks down about how high the desk is. And so why does desk height matter? It's going to play a big role in where your monitor is placed. So if your desk is too high up, you're going to be, I'm exaggerating here, but you're going to be staring up. And if it's too far down, you're going to be looking down. And then same thing with your wrists. So it's going to cause issues on your wrists, having to bend them one way or the other, depending on how the desk itself is set up. And so I know a lot of you already have desks at the house. And so, without having to go out and purchase a new desk, that would be way too much to ask. And I 100% understand that. Maybe adjusting your chair. So if your desk is a little higher and you're like, hey, I really need to get myself a little bit higher up, find a way to boost up your chair, and then maybe using that footrest to keep your feet nice and flat. And if it's too low, maybe lowering your chair down a little bit. Or the other option is raising your monitor up. And that's another easy option to make. The monitor itself, you want that at least 20 inches away. A good way to measure that without bringing out the measuring tape is just a nice arm length. So you want the screen about arm length away. You don't want it flat, so you want a little bit of a tilt backwards, about 10 to 20 degrees. And that's just to make sure that you're not getting any weird glares or issues coming on from that. The top of the screen itself should be at or right below eye level. And this will just make sure you're not staring down again or looking up, and prevent any issues with your neck from there. And so key width here is going to be, if you guys have it, I would highly recommend to use some form of external monitor. And so you can see in this setup, this person has the Mac on the bottom and then has it connected to, I guess that's another Mac actually, but you can connect it to some form of monitor. This could be any monitor, any type of extra old TV that's really small that can fit there, any type of old monitor that you may have laying around from an old desktop that you're not using, but it can go a long way. And if that is something that you don't have, I got some tips that you can use as well to prevent you from having to go out and purchase yourself a monitor right now. So that brings me to here. So laptop tips and tricks. Using a laptop is, again, great for short periods of time, but it's that constant looking down is going to cause those issues in the neck. So the number one thing you want to do is make sure to actually don't put the laptop in your lap, because that is going to cause you to just kind of stare down like this, or going to cause you to look in all kinds of funky ways. You want to make sure you raise the screen. And so you have kind of multiple options for this. The thing in the computer stand in the top left corner is actually one that I purchased and actually I'm using right now too. So it raises up your laptop, puts it at a nice eye level. So now instead of having to look down on my presentation, I can actually look straight ahead. This one can actually be converted up into a standing desk as well, which is a great option. That's why it has a little mouse pad on the side. If that is something that, hey, I don't want to go out and make an extra purchase, books can go a long way. Stacking up your couple of books on top of each other to raise the computer up, however high you need to raise it, and then making sure you get that separate keyboard and mouse to come across, and you got yourself a nice station where the keyboard and mouse are nice and close, your monitor set up at a good eye level so that you can look straight ahead versus looking down. Again, with laptops, the font size is going to be a lot smaller than what you're used to seeing. Most desktop screens tend to be larger than your average laptop, and so maybe going in and actually increasing the font size so you're not straining and looking forwards to make out the texts can actually go a long way. And then stand up and take breaks. Constantly looking at a screen is not good for anybody, and this is something you can take into work when you go back to work at the workplace. But at home, you have the ability to, I'm gonna take a 10-20 second break from my screen, walk away, get a drink of water, come back, and go back to work. And that little short break can actually go significantly a long way. If you notice that you've been in a meeting or you're sitting for long periods of time, there's kind of two big rules to follow. You've got the 20-20-20 rule, which is basically every 20 minutes, try to take a 20-second break and look at something that's about 20 feet away. It's a little tongue twister for you. And that comes key because it just gets you away from the screen. It gives your eyes a little break, and it just gives you your whole body a break from sitting up nice and tall and staring at the screen. If that is something that's not feasible because of work, which totally is understandable, try to take a break every 30-60 minutes. And this can be something brief, 2 to 5 minute break is enough, where you just get up, walk around, take a little stretch break. And I just put together a couple of exercises that can just relax things a little bit. And these can be simple. I mean, you can do these in 2 minutes if you wanted to, can time them for 20-30 seconds. So I'll just kind of go over them. So neck rotations would be simply just, turning your head side to side. Just because you've been, have the monitor set up right and have everything high enough for you to look straight ahead doesn't mean your body likes to look in one position the whole time. So we're meant to move as humans. So just give yourself a little break, turn your head left to right, give yourself a little nod to each side. And again, this just gets the joints to move a little bit. Again, body's not meant to sit still for long periods of time. Shoulder rotations, just rotating your shoulders in nice circles. And then after that, giving yourself a nice little shoulder blade squeeze, bringing everything back, taking a deep breath at this point to give yourself a nice little relaxation. In general, you can just give yourself a nice big stretch up, just reaching up, take a nice little big breath in, giving yourself a little break. And then a great one is always just look away. Another thing that I learned when I was looking at monitors for long periods of time is honestly just covering up your eyes, using both hands, putting them over your face, closing your eyes, and just taking a couple of seconds to yourself. And then general tips to just improve health with constant sitting down and working from home is just stretch. Do those stretches, do any kind of stretches that you personally like to do. Doesn't have to be those ones. Stay active, do some type of walking around. If you've been, stuck at home working for a long period of time, go take a dog for a walk, or go, if you don't have a dog, just go outside and go for a little walk and enjoy the day. Maintain a healthy lifestyle, nutrition, and just work smart. And so that it simply goes into setting up a key station for y'all. So key points. I talked about a lot of things, but what I really, really want y'all to focus on and what's going to be most important to help y'all out the most is going to be make sure to raise your laptop. So again, don't stare down, raise your laptop up, invest in a computer stand if that's what you want to do. You're also more than welcome to take a couple of books, put them on top of each other, and raise your laptop that way. Which then means you need to get some form of keyboard and mouse as well. And you can find them on Amazon. I'm sure they got somewhere at Best Buy if that's still open currently, where you can just hook them up via USB and you're good to go. If you have a monitor, use the monitor. That would be a little bit better than raising it up because it's a nice external device that you can use, and it would require you to stay at that station more than, I have the desktop, I can just move it somewhere else. Frequent short breaks can really go a long way. It gives your body that little bit of break it needs from constantly staring at the screen, gives you to relax a little bit, and then invest in a good chair. So if you're working from home right now and you're having some issues, just look into buying a decent chair. There's a lot of options out there, a lot of chairs with good reviews. I personally got my chair on Amazon and looked up a nice ergonomic chair, read the reviews, and found something that I thought fit me very well. This is always something that you could then take to work if you wanted to, so it wouldn't be a waste of a chair. It'd be something that you could later on use as well. And the thing you're going to look for with the chairs, like I said earlier, is going to be that nice lumbar support with a little bit of armrests and then some neck support as well. So that being said, that's going to be all I have for y'all today. And these are the two puppers that y'all did not hear. The one on the right, that's my older one, he's 11, and the brown one, the red one on the left side of y'all is going to be my puppy who's 6 months. Just want to let you know we are still offering telehealth, so if anybody has any questions or wants to specifically talk to me about any postural things, you're more than welcome to give my clinic a call. I got the number posted right there for y'all, and I'll be really happy to help you out with anything. Until then, we'll talk to y'all tomorrow, I guess.
Devin, thanks a lot. Great presentation, very helpful, very interesting, very topical, obviously, for what we've got going on right now. Just remind everybody that we have these webinars every day of the week through May 1st. We'll also have them residing up on our Greater Therapy Center's YouTube channel as soon as the recordings are finished each day. So you can always go there and hit these up later. Thanks a lot for taking time to be with us, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks, Devin.
Thank you.